the last. Your care of me hath flourished again. Your looking out over me has flourished again. Many, many times I can think back over my lifetime when I could have left this world. But the providence of God kept me around. Kept me around. I wrecked a vehicle when I was about 19 years old. I was out on I-75 and I hit a road sign. Wide open. Driving a Jeep. The next thing I remember, I woke up and I was over the guardrail, laying probably 150 feet from the vehicle, flat on my back. And I was like, whoa, what happened? And I was checking to make sure everything was still attached. And I crawled up the bank and I sat on the guardrail. There was no fella from down the south end of the county named Truman Lawson come backing up to me. He got out, I'll never forget, he said, son, boy, you've been through a mess right here. Good Lord's sure with you. So there was a report on the CB radio that there was a wreck and there was somebody killed on the interstate. Couldn't have lived through it. And said, I come through. He just happened to know where there was a cut in the fence. And he said, I did a shortcut and I got to you. But you're alive. And the first words out of my mouth before Truman even pulled up, I said, thank you, Lord, that I lived through this. Don't remember flying out of the vehicle. I could have went the other way, and you know how that would have ended up. But I went over the guardrail down the bank. I didn't go into the middle of the interstate. Why did that happen? God's providence on me. God had a purpose and a reason and a plan for me somewhere down the road. And the Apostle Paul says, I rejoice in this because your care of me hath flourished again. He's reminding us to think about that. Contentment comes by remembering that. Sometimes when I'm down and discouraged and I have those oh woe is me moments and pity party and feel sorry for myself, all I have to do is think back to how many times God's brought me through.
Yeah.
How many times He's been there for me. How many times He's picked me up, washed me off and wiped me off and cleaned me up. How many times? Secondly, the Apostle Paul says contentment comes by simply this, refusing to focus on the circumstances. If we look over here in 11 and 12, he says, not that I speak in respect of want, for I've learned in whatsoever state I am therewith to be content. Now, Brother Lloyd Taylor was here last Sunday. Boy, what a service we had. And you know what? If a lot of people got the diagnosis that man's got, they would just lay down and give up. A lot of them would say, I'll just go ahead and plan on leaving here. Let's get to the funeral home, make my plans, because I'm not going to be here long. But he stood up last Sunday and spoke about the joy in his heart. He spoke about the peace that he has in the journey. How rough it is, but the peace that he's got. Not focusing on the circumstances that we're in the midst of. Many times we just get down and we begin to look around and say, the mountain's too high. The valley's too low. It's too wide. It's too deep. It's too high. I can't get around it. Let me tell you what. The last verse says, I can do all things.
Amen.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not to look at the circumstances, not to be consumed with the circumstances, refusing to focus on that. You know, I can think about a lot of things that folks that are examples of this. A lot of times I think about athletes. Athletes who refused to give up. Who refused to focus on the situation. Who refused to listen to the naysayers. Many times you'll see those guys who come up and they'll say, he wasn't drafted. He wasn't this or he wasn't that. You know, I'm not a big Tom Brady fan. My boy just thinks he's wonderful. But the guy was drafted in like the umpteenth round, wasn't he, Blake? Okay. Nobody give him a chance to do anything. You know, he's too slow, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. But about, I don't know how many Super Bowl rings later, 5 of them, one for each finger on that hand. He refused to focus on the circumstances. You're too slow, you're this, you're that, you're this. He didn't listen. Many times we see the circumstances and we're just overwhelmed by them. Apostle Paul says not to focus on these, not to find a contentment in whatever state that we're in. To be content.